So, yesterday was kind of a warm-up, I guess. I kind of got blinded by the light. So I think today is going to be a bit better, hopefully. I kind of collected. I had a lot that I wanted to say when I started this, and I just completely forgot all of it. And then I recollected my thoughts, so this one should be a bit better. But I guess I should start with the purposes of this channel. This is really just a journal, is what I'm treating it as. And so it's got that public speaking aspect, which I just remembered about. I gotta remember that. And then, but it's also a journal. When I write in my journal, which I don't do too much, but I try to do it every day, I find that my mind goes faster than the journal, than I can write. And so it's helpful, but it's not that helpful, It's nice to be able to read back on it. But in this way, I can kind of work at my mind's pace and get more off my chest, I guess. And yeah. And also, I was thinking about, what I believed in 2-3 years ago, and I couldn't really remember. I have a good idea of what I believed in, but if I do this long enough, it can become a reference point, and I can look back at a video from 2 years ago and know exactly what my philosophy was, or how I was feeling, or what place I was in. So I think that would be pretty cool. I'm not really expecting to get any views on this channel, and it's probably better that way. I think even if it does, I want to treat this like it's just my journal, I'm not going to get too personal, just because, there is the chance that people see this, but yeah. There was something I wanted to talk about. I guess we'll start with yoga. I did yoga yesterday with Charles, and at the yoga studio here in town. There's this really accomplished yoga guy, and you get out of it and your mind just feels so clear. I'm never good at that kind of stuff. I'm too long for it, but it's still either way, it just helps. Yeah. It's happening again. I had things that I wanted to talk about. What should I talk about? I guess I could kind of give a recap of, my whole beliefs and what brings me to this. When I was younger, I always hated the CIA, to the point where everything that I researched, research papers for class, just research in my spare time, all of it was just basically just to research the CIA. It's especially Cold War era, operations, their coup d'etats in Iran and all over the Middle East, because my mother's Arab, so I kind of had a tie to it. And then that led me to finding the Gateway tapes, because obviously the CIA was involved with that. And I was an atheist before then, to the bone. And that was my first intro into, I'd gotten a bit into psychedelics before, so it wasn't my entire first intro. I'd never taken them, but my friends had taken a boatload, and they'd all come out saying crazy shit. So I was like, okay, maybe there is, something other than just the material. And yeah, so there was that. And then that led to finding the Gateway tapes. I delved into that a bit. I read the accounts of Tom Campbell and Robert Monroe. I didn't read I read probably half of Tom Campbell's first book. And then I just read a bit about Robert Monroe. But you hear all the crazy shit that they talk about, and you're like, whoa, this is nuts. So you get into that, I got into that, and then from there it kind of just cascaded. The whole time I was into all sorts of crazy political stuff. Not crazy, but I'm definitely on the more extreme side, or I was. And then that led me to where I am today, which is a very spiritual person. I was always materialistic growing up. The material world was first, and I was, always into science and things of that sort. I excelled in classes up until high school because my parents had me in, accelerated shits. And so, I was just very logical, and the older I've gotten, the more I've realized that logic really doesn't serve too much of a purpose. So, that's just a quick recap, I guess. Yeah. I might just stop it here. I had other things that I wanted to talk about, but I really can't remember them. So I'll have to start doing a bit more of a collection of my thoughts before I start making these videos. Or I could just freestyle them. That might be just as beneficial, I guess. Could be, really. I've been working out. I've been telling myself that I want to get ripped and work out, but I haven't done it for like the last 4 years. But now I'm like really in a place where I feel like that's something I want to do. Also, I'm vegan, so that's cool.